for the back insert. Okay? Now, for this back insert, I wanted to do some ruffles. Okay? So, what you need is, remember how we had that square piece of, or rectangular piece of fabric for the front insert? We're going to make an insert that's similar to that. So here I have just my plain white fabric. Remember, it was an old, this was a pant leg from I did a conversion into a pencil skirt out of these little pants. And I kept the legs. Why? Because I knew they would come in handy. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut my rectangle out of this, and I have it laying over top of my pants so I make sure that my rectangle is wide enough, okay, and long enough. So I just have it laid over my pants, and I am cutting. Now, if you want to use the tape measure and measure and then cut, please do. You do. Oh, I have my tape measure sitting out here. What is that? What? Oh. I have my shea butter for my hair. This is, it's a no drip shea tea tree oil, jojoba oil, all natural. It protects your hair from breakage and all of that. I use that on my hair. So, let me get this out of the way. I didn't even see it sitting there. Well, anyway. All right. So, I'm going to get this cut. And, all right. It doesn't have to be a perfect cut. It doesn't, you know, anything like that. There we go. See? Jaggedy edges and all. All cut. All right. Now, what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to take my strips here, and I want to do the same thing. I need to find the shortest strips, the short versus long. My shortest strips are going to be up at the top because they're going to make a smaller ruffle. And then my longer strip is going to go on the bottom. And I'm actually going to use this piece as the bottom ruffle because it's the salvage edge. See that edge right there? And I don't have to hem it. And it's going to look nice and not ravel. Okay? Usually if I can find more salvage edges that I can make, you know, into a nice strip, I'll do that. Because then you don't have to hem the edges of that. So let me just take a look at my scraps here. Do I have, oh yep, there's a salvage edge. I could use that for my very top ruffle. Let's see. Ooh, here's a nice piece. That is a salvage edge. And then you could just kind of decide, you know, based on how tall your pieces are, or, you know, how wide your scraps are, it will be how wide your ruffles are. Okay? So, I'm laying that out. Let me just see. This bottom one is going to be thinner because it's got this little scrunch here. I'm just cutting this off to make it even. So, and usually what I like to do is how wide the gap is. I like to go 2 times wider than the gap, okay? Maybe sometimes 2.5 times. Or like this, you can just guide by the bottom of the pant and just, you know, kind of look at and estimate. I don't know. I like to have a full ruffle there. So you want to do 2 to 2.5 times wider than the gap that you're filling, okay? All right. So I have that. There's that's my bottom ruffle. And now on this next one, there's my bottom ruffle. You want the bottom of the next ruffle to cover the top of the lowest ruffle so that you can't see the stitching or the hemming. So, let me see. Do I have another nice long salvage edge? Can't tell. Oh, ha. I must have cut that straight. Go figure. Alright, so All right, now I have all of my pieces. Let's see, that's going to be another ruffle here. And just as you go up, they can be a little bit shorter because the gap is getting narrower. Okay? And let's see, there's my gap here, about 2.5 times smaller. So, and also the thickness of your ruffles, you know, is really up to you. You can see I'm really not, you know, doing a whole lot of measuring and cutting, right? I'm just, you know, estimating, you know, what is where. And all right, I've got that little bit of gap left. And so I've worked out that this is, I've got 4 ruffles here that are covering my gap. Okay? All right. So now what I need to do is I need to actually gather these pieces. Okay? And so in order to do that, I'm actually going to make just one little extra one just in case. I always like to have an extra little ruffle piece just in case when I get them in there, I need to add another piece. So just have an extra one just in case, a backup, so to speak. All right? Okay, so I have that all done. Now, in order to make it simple to gather these strips, all right? What you're going to do, now with me, what I would do is I would serge these edges first. But I'm not going to do that today because you guys probably don't have a serger. But if you do, go ahead and serge the top edge of these. Now, also, if you don't have a salvage edge in your scraps, serge the bottom edge of it. A lot of times that raw serged edge looks really cute. I've done several designs where we've left that raw serged edge on there. Okay? But to gather, all right, what I do, turn my tension way up to 9, okay? And then I'm going to turn my stitch to the widest stitch possible, which is like a 5. Turn up to 9, all right? Then I'm going to set this on there. And so, now don't back stitch or anything like that because you're going to want to be able to gather and adjust this gather. All right? And okay. See how that gathered itself right at the top? See, now it's all nice and gathered. And now I can adjust that gather when I'm ready and make it tighter or looser, however you want to do it. With this one, I'm probably going to make it just a little bit tighter to get more of a ruffle on there, okay? And then all you do is just pull one of the threads in that, the top one or the bottom one, whichever is easier for you to do. And that makes the ruffle tighter. See, I'm doing that here. All right. Now I just sort of adjust and see how I like that, how that sits on the gap. And I'm just going to make this one just a little bit tighter. There we go, because I want it to have a nice, full kind of ruffly shape. Alright, so there is my bottom ruffle. Now remember how long that piece was? Now there's my little bitty bottom ruffle. Okay, and that's going to sit right inside my bottom piece. Alright, now I'm going to do the same and gather the rest of these pieces. Okay, so now I have them all gathered. And I'm just going to tighten a couple of these up a little bit. Really, this little gathering technique, you can use that to put ruffles on anything. So like if you want to add ruffle to the bottom of a skirt, that's how you do it. You want to make the piece of material about 2 to 2.5 times longer than the whatever you're putting the ruffle around. And then tension on 9, stitch on 5, and you are ready to go. Alright, so this is going to be my very little top one. It's going to go on the top of the insert. And let me see, can we adjust this a little bit? There you go, you can kind of see that a little better. That's going to go on the top. Let me get this one. Now, again, you can also take your serger or a little zigzag stitch and go around the outside edges of these. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them attached first, and then I'm going to take my serger and go around and just case them all in together. So it looks neat and professional, all closed in. Once you get them all ruffled, then you're going to pin them onto this extra piece of, you know, that initial white rectangle or whatever rectangular piece of material that you use. You could use the same color scraps or, you know, whatever you wanted. It doesn't really matter. You can use a coordinating color. It's just so that when the, you know, when they run or play or walk or move, that when the ruffles move, you're not lifting that ruffle up and seeing flesh. You want to keep that covered. After all, that's the whole point of being modest. You don't want to lift up that, you know, that ruffle to flip up, woo, and you could see all that God gave you. You don't really want to do that. Okay, so there's 2, here's 3, and then here's 4. Now you want to be careful because if you pull too hard, the thread will break. And if you break it, you have to start over because then it'll come loose and it won't gather for you at all. Alright, so now there's 2 ways that you can do this. Okay? You can either place them right side up and then stitch right over the top. Okay? And notice, see, I have it on top of here so I can feel the width of the gap. So I know kind of how far it has to be stretched out. Okay? And then I'm just going to pin it on each side. Now, you can either do it right side up like this and top stitch it, or you can do it upside down and then stitch it and then fold the ruffle over and then top stitch it that way, so it looks like, you know, a nice neat little crease. So you won't see the, you know, the little gathering at the top of the ruffle. Does that make sense? I hope so. Alright, well, maybe we'll cover that in another video when I do a different kind of ruffle. Okay? That's what you'll want to do if you're like adding a ruffle to a skirt. Put it on upside down, put right sides together, and then sew it and then flip the ruffle down and then top stitch it down. Okay, hopefully that makes a little bit of sense to those of you who are a little more familiar in the sewing world. Now, if you're not, you still don't understand what I mean, leave a message or a comment, or, you know, go to our Facebook page at Titus2MWA, and you can ask me a question there, and I will see if I can't explain better how to do that upside down, okay, or right sides together. All right, so I have my first one on. Now my second one, again, remember, I want to come down and make sure that that little raw edge, you want to start with the bottom ruffle too, by the way. Did I mention that earlier? And make sure the bottom edge is covering the top edge of the ruffle below it. Okay? Just so that it looks nice and neat when you're done, and then pin that as well. Okay, and you could put one right in the middle too, you know, to kind of hold it down in the center so that it stays straight across and not all wonky. All right. Now remember also, you're only pinning to that extra piece of fabric. On occasion, I'll get all clumsy and I'll pin to the I'll pin to the jeans, and then I can't get the I can't lift the material up to sew it. So you'll want to remember that you are only pinning to this extra piece of fabric that you're going to sew into the gap. All right, there's two. Here is 3. Covering up that. Gather below it. Oh, excuse me. I'm still getting over that cold. Well, no, it wasn't a cold. Because a cold I could have taken medicine for. It's that virus. Blech. That's all you can do with the virus is just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Isn't that, what is that? Isn't that a song? I saw a video with a little girl singing that song or something. I think it's from Frozen. I don't know. Haven't seen it. But it was cute. The little girl, she was 2, and she was in the back seat. She was just singing away. And it was beautiful. I love to see little kids just singing away. You get them started. And use that talent for the glory of God. But you can never start too young, encouraging them to get up there and give their all to Jesus. Okay, so there's our third one, and oh, I think I'm going to be happy that I made the little extra one, because I think there's going to be just a little bit of a gap, so I'm going to go ahead and go with that, with the last one, and with the little extra piece one, and we'll see how it goes. All right. Yep, there's just, it comes just, let me look. Yeah, just right below that gap. So I'm going to go ahead and use my 5th one. So that's why you want to make a backup rather than just doing that away. But that's also why I never throw my scraps away. Because you never know what you might need a little piece of fabric for. Now, probably a scrap, something like this, I'll probably throw this away. I don't know. I haven't decided. I'm torn. I want to keep it. You never know. You can make a bow or something. Well, that's probably a little small to make a bow. But it might make something. You never know. All right. So here is 4. And I'm glad I made that little backup. And yep, I've got just a little bitty gap up here at the top that's going to need to be covered. So, all right. And we are almost done. All right, here we go. See, now I've got them all pinned on there. It looks kind of like a little polka dotted Christmas tree without a point on it. But now I've got all those little ruffles attached to this white material so that it goes into that insert, okay? And now, again, you want to sew a straight line across the top of each one of these gathering rows, okay? Across the top of each one of those. And what I do is I just come on out into the fabric, turn it around, lift up my previous row that I just sewed down after I get my pins out. Okay, I lift that row up, then I sew down the side of the fabric to the top of that next ruffle, rotate it over, and sew across. And repeat, see? All right, so now I have all those tacked down. Okay, make sure I get my pins out. You would not want that unfriendly surprise when you go to sit down at church and oops, there's a pin left in your skirt. All right, so there we go. See, now we got all my little ruffly ruffles on here. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my serger and I'm gonna serge down the edge of these. All right. Voila! Here's my little ruffle insert panel. Okay? Now we're ready to do the inserting. And now you can insert the same as we did, excuse me, same as we did on the other little panel. So you're just going to lift up your split here, place the ruffled panel underneath there. Here it is, all nice and close up. So see, now all we're going to do is pin it here, pin it here, pin it here. Now see, remember I told you just that little bitty bit of a gap right there for it. And now we're all ready to go. Well, we'll pin it first, and then we'll sew it down, okay? All right, and there it is, all pinned in nice and neatly. Okay, and now we're just going to sew around the edge of here. All right, we're sewing in this ruffle. Don't forget to backstitch. I've done my double stitch up top. Now we're going to do the last little bit down the edge of the other ruffle, the other side of the ruffle. right, now we are officially all done. Well, except we need to do a lot of finishing touches. Well, not a lot, a few finishing touches. So here we go. It's our front flat insert, our back ruffle insert, the little ruffles. Okay, see there's the ruffle insert. Here's our flat panel insert in the front. And then here's the inside. Now remember, I told you I'm going to serge down the edges here real quick. And then my inside, I've got this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to serge this closer to, now that I have it all sewn in the back. And you can't see through it. And there's your ruffle. And then we're all done. There's our long little girl ruffly insert skirt. I'm going to press it, serge all my edges, and then I'll come back and I'm going to finish the other skirt too. And I'll come back and show you what they look like when they're all done. See you in a minute. All right, ladies, we are finished with the project for today. Here it is, all pressed. There's our back and the front of our little skirt project here. See the ruffles, all nice and neat, and our flat panel also pressed nicely. There's one. Now the other one, the two flat panel inserts, we did this one here. Okay, and to support our Modesty's Choice project, these two skirts are going to be on sale for $15. That includes shipping. And all the proceeds of those will go directly to provide shipping for our Modesty's Choice products. Well, not products, really requests for the ladies who need assistance. And so this one, the waist on this is 18 inches to 22 inches. So it stretches from 18 to 22 to go across the little tummy. And it's 15 inches long. And then this one, the waist on this is a size 5'6", and the waist on this is 22 and a half inches. It has hardly, very little stretch, just a little bit, see, just a little stretch. It is denim with the button and a zipper. Okie dokie. All right, see the little design on there? You got a little heart, a peace sign, and little angel wings. How cute is that? But anyway, that's our jean insert video for today. Solo Deo Gloria. See you guys next time.